Hi everyone, Williamson. I am sitting on the side of the road on Highway 23 in Betsy Lane, Kentucky. The sign is just in front of me for Betsy Lane, and getting ready to get back out on the road. I just had to set up this thing here so I can do some talking with you. There's a lot. I hope you can hear me. I think I still got this thing turned on. Yeah. Okay. So there's a lot of stuff that's happened over the past several days that really raise some serious questions about the direction our country is taking and what we can do about it. And it's a challenge. It is a real difficult challenge. So I'm going to keep my camera facing me for right now. And then as I'm driving, so I'm getting back out on the road now. I've got my microphone up here. You can tell it. So anyway, it's a all the stuff that's been going on here lately on across the country, particularly with organizations like the Heritage Foundation, like our Department of Defense, the Secretary of the Navy, the Secretary of the Air Force. I mean, what the Air Force has done. I mean, it's just, I don't know how to explain it rationally, because there's nothing rational about what they've decided to do. And that's the real challenging part to explain to people, is that we've tried to tell you, I've tried to tell you for years now, really, that if this person gets into this administration, gets into the federal government, runs the White House, gets in the White House, that this is what we're going to have happen. And I don't come at that from just being hyperbolic about things, okay? It's actually, the blueprint's been spelled out, and we have absolutely tried to tell people and warn people about what this is all about. But yet, it's not happening. People don't get it. Even now, a lot of people just want to say, no, that's not the way it is. You're still saying I'm hyperbolic, or you're still saying we're hyperbolic. And by we, I mean other people who are strongly opposed to the direction our country is taking. And it's discouraging, really. But it's hard to explain all of that to you, because you're missing the whole point of just how badly they want to destroy a certain minority population in this country. But it won't stop with that group. It will go on and on and on, because the whole idea is to do what Doug Wilson, the pastor of that church out in Moscow, Idaho, wants to do, and his associate pastors associated with him. They made it very clear in their little interview. I don't know which media source it was, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, somebody like that. It was one of those, or MSNBC. I don't know. They interviewed Doug Wilson. They interviewed a couple of the pastors out there. And I'm going to tell you, that is some scary crap, folks. That's what they want to do. They're serious about it. They have the way in to do it now. And people are just ignoring it, pretending it's not real. Well, this is where we are, because you have a Secretary of Defense who reposted that interview. And already I've been telling people for a long time, this is who Pete Hegseth is. This is who the Heritage Foundation is. This is where the Project 2025, the Mandate for Leadership, came from. This is it, folks. I've tried to warn you. I've tried to tell you. I've tried to explain to you where they're going with this. I want to make it very clear, too, with all of this. One is, this is religious nationalism on steroids. That's what this is. They're taking it to the next level. It's not even Christian. There's nothing Christian about nationalism. There's nothing Christian about this push for dominance. You cannot find it in any of the red letters in the New Testament. You can't find it there. It's not there. What? No, it's not there. So This is a political movement that seeks to gain power over others simply because they don't like them or don't think they have a right to exist as themselves in this community, in this world, really. Taking it to the next level by going to the United Nations even and pushing this crap on them too and saying that, hey, even though that resolution is a good resolution, we agree with it and everything except for that one word gender in it. You put gender in there, well, we can't deal with that one. You got to get rid of the word gender and do it the way we want you to do it. But this is all coming out of this Christian nationalism. I have no opposition whatsoever to people believing what they want to believe. None. That's part of who we are. You're entitled to that. But I will tell you that you do not have the right to foist it on others. We do not want to hear it anymore. We're tired of it. For years and years, we've been accused of being the ones who are out here shoving our lives down other people's throats. But that's not what's happening. For years, that they have been just projecting whom they are. They are shoving their views down the rest of the country's throats right now. And Pete Hegseth is at the forefront of that, along with the White House, Paula White in the White House. That's what we're dealing with, is a complete hostile takeover of the United States. And they don't really care about the Constitution, folks. They are not interested in the Constitution. It is a tool for them to get what they want, because their goal is to drive this nation into submission to their way of thinking and making it identical to them. They want it to look like, what Doug Wilson wants it to look like. And what did those two associate pastors say over the weekend in that interview from late last week? Well, when asked if they wanted to repeal the 19th Amendment, and they said, yeah, they don't want women to vote, people. They don't think women are capable of making decisions on their own. They don't think you have any kind of bodily autonomy over yourselves, your lives, or anything about you. They want it to go back to the time when every decision that was made had to be made with the consent of the husband. And that included credit cards, banking, money, finance, anything like that, or voting. That's what these people want. It's misogynistic horror show. And that's what we're dealing with right now. We're dealing with a whole group of these people who have dug into our government and embedded themselves within it, starting in the Department of Defense and the White House. I mean, it's all over the place right now. It's all over the place. That's their goal. It's not about constitutional protections. It's not about constitutional protections for religious liberty or anything like that, or due process, or any of it. They don't care about those things. Their goal is to put their hand over this country in the same way that the Ayatollah Khomeini is over Iran. Not the same religion, no, but operationally the same, identical. So this is what we're having to deal with right now. Existential to all peace-loving people in this country. And why that is so hard to see, I don't know. I guess it's a lot like where you take a frog and you put it in cold, you put in a pot in cold water, you put it on a flame and you just slowly heat it up. The frog never knows that it needs to get out of there. It will stay there until it's cooked to death. And that's what I see happening in this country of mine, of ours. That's what I see happening here. And people just don't get that. They're missing it. They're the frog in the frog in the pot right now. And they don't know what's coming. And I've tried to tell them, this is what's coming. This is what's coming. All you have to do is read Project 2025's mandate for leadership. Read that thing. It's 900 pages. And it's actually pretty easy to read. It's a very thoroughly researched document, folks. It is not just a policy document. It is how to go about doing it. It's what executive orders need to be issued. It's what policies need to be implemented. It's what things need to be rolled back. It's this, all of those things. It's a process. They've got it laid out in detail, and half the country is pretending that it doesn't exist, that it is not the facts. Well, but there's also a large percentage of that same group who are going, yeah, 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 all of that. They're in complete support of it. So, how do we stop this? Well, honestly, we're going to have to fight for this. You want your liberty, your freedom, your independence, your freedom to make decisions on you, to vote as you see fit, to make decisions for yourself and your family. We're going to have to fight for it. Right now, we're in the middle of, I'm calling it a Cold War here in the United States. It's a full-on, full-bore Cold War that we're in the middle of right now. It's an ideological one. The biggest fight, though, is not over political things in terms of Republican or Democrat, conservative, liberal. It's not about that, folks. This is about Christian nationalists wanting to take over the whole of government, regardless of which political ideology you stand for. They don't care about any of those things. They don't care if you're a conservative. They don't care that you are a Republican or an independent or a Democrat or a liberal. They don't care about any of those things. They want control of this nation. And they are on the way to do it. And we're just sitting back doing nothing about it. You can protest in the streets. You can make a lot of noise. You can even write a Project 2029 book, which has been done, which is an absolute colossal waste of space and time because there's nothing in it actionable. It's a feel-good thing to make you say, oh yeah, we got something out there too, but there's nothing in there that tells you precisely every step that needs to take place. There's no implementation process for this book or this policy or whatever you want to call it, Project 2029, that's put out by the Democrats. It lacks the teeth, the organization, everything about it is just a fluff piece. So what do we do with that, huh? Well, we're going to have to start being very direct, very forceful, very deliberate. And where we are now, we have to assess it correctly and adequately. We've got to acknowledge all of that and then move forward with it and come up with an actionable plan that can be used to roll back what this current administration has done to our government. I don't know if our nation can survive through all of this. I don't know. I used to be able to say that, I used to say with confidence even, that we are an extremely resilient nation. And yeah, we are. But right now, they first back. Talking to, there we go. I think we came back. There was a slight freeze right there. Anyway, yeah, what I was saying was that We are a resilient nation. We are capable of going through anything we have. We've been through a civil war, for God's sakes. We know how to pull it all back together. We also know that things need to change. Where did this arise? How did this occur? What can we do to make things better? And what can we do to correct this path so that we don't end up here again? Because right now, as I said a little bit ago, a moment ago, we are in a Cold War. It's an ideological Cold War. We're in the fight for our lives, for freedom, liberty, independence, the ability to vote for whomever we wish, and men and women and everyone who can vote are going out and voting, and none of their rights are being rolled back. The people who want to step in and control this nation, they don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about any of that stuff. They don't care about your liberty or freedom. I was speaking to a person last night on X, calls himself anti-communist, himself or herself, I don't know which, but calls himself anti-communist, which sounds really good. But I asked the person after we've been talking for a little while, I said, so does that mean your back was, no, I'm not anti-fascist. And I said, so, and they put a list of names out beside it. Let me see, it was Paul, and then Franco, and then Trump, and then Uncle Addie. And you're going, who the heck is Uncle Addie? Well, it took me a minute to figure that one out. It took me a minute to find out who Paul was, too, what they meant by that. But I started connecting the dots with the names that they mentioned. Uncle Addie, or Addie, was a nickname for Adolf Hitler. Paul is Joseph Goebbels' first name. Paul Joseph Goebbels. This person said, when I asked pointedly, so I said, so you're a fascist? And they reply back, yeah, we need to have ethical fascism in this country. Ethical fascism? No, we don't. No, we don't. We fought the fascists in World War II, and we won. But he said, but he goes on to say, this person, anti-communist, goes on to say, that, yeah, he's definitely he would prefer that it be ethical fascism. You know what that means? Absolute control from the top down to tell you exactly how you should run your lives, your businesses, your nation, and everything about it. And that they are basically dictatorially controlling everything for you. Everything. The religion you accept. People who can be a part of it. That's what he was talking about. And that's what people like Matt Walsh keep pushing. And Charlie Kirk. And Doug Wilson from the church in Moscow, Idaho. And Pete Hegseth. That's who these people are talking about. They want an authoritarian leader running this nation. Not one who respects the will of the people or even consults with the will of the people. Doesn't really matter. They don't care, like I said before, whether you're Republican or conservative, Democrat, liberal, independent. Their goal is to subjugate this country, take away the right of women to vote. And that's what all this crap was from Doug Wilson and Pete Hegseth this past weekend. Roll back your bodily autonomy, take it all away from you, that you have absolutely no rights of your own except what they give to you, and say that you have. That's who these people are. I've been trying to tell you that for a long time now. This is not. I go after and attack Christian nationalism because that's the biggest problem in this country right now. But there is also such a thing as Shia nationalism and Shia autocracy and Islamic nationalism and Hindu nationalism and all. Basically, it's a political ploy under the guise of a religion to gain power. And we're allowing it to happen. So I don't know if we can recover from all of this. I don't know what this is going to look like after we get through it. I hope we can stay all connected and united together. But I'm going to tell you, this is getting really seriously bad. You've got Pete Hegseth. I rail on Pete a lot because Pete, bless his heart, bless his little heart. Yeah, that's a Southern blessing. Bless his little heart. He thinks he's such a good person. And really, he might be a good person. He might be. I don't know. But I do know this. If you want to take away the right of women to vote, that puts you on a notch below good. Several notches. If you want to roll back bodily autonomy for women or any minority in this country, that takes away all of that definition of good. You might have an exterior that is just so good and so shiny and bright and everybody likes it and all of that, but you're flat out wrong. And Pete is a danger, is a threat to this nation. He wants to do things within the Department of Defense. And I mean, he's already started, folks. He's already started full-on prayer, church services once a month in the Pentagon with Doug Wilson type people doing the work, doing the talking. And Doug's been there too, by the way. And Doug Wilson's also decided to go ahead and open up a church, plant a church there in D.C. of all places, from Moscow, Idaho. Because what Pete is doing is taking that and putting it inside the Pentagon. That whole thinking, that thought process, that ideology of Christian nationalism, ultra-nationalism, moving it into the Pentagon, speaking in tongues and all of that kind of stuff. They're in the Pentagon, and I bet you $1 they won't let the same thing, let a Muslim organization go in there and have a service 5 times a day. Blow the whistle and all of that, call to prayer. I bet they wouldn't let that happen. So that tells me that they have one goal in mind: the complete subjugation of this country to their will. They think they have a right and a responsibility to lead this nation. Whether or not the person in power, wherever, who's been voted in, they don't care who's voted in. They want control of it all over top of it. That's what this is, folks. It's dangerous. It's dangerous to your freedom. It's dangerous to your lives. And let me tell you, the attacks against transgender people like myself, the attacks against us, our rights, our liberty, our freedom, all those things, kicking us out of the military, it has nothing to do with meritocracy. That is a cover for them to go ahead and be discriminatory and hateful towards a group of people they don't like. I suspect, now this is just a guess, but I suspect the reason they don't like us so much, there's 2 reasons. One of them is that some of these men out there have fetishes about some trans women. Yep. And they're trying to stamp it out of their head. They're saying, no, look, we're not associated with anything like that. We don't have any thoughts about it. Yeah, they do. I've met a few of them. I've met quite a few of them. That's how they think of us, as sex objects to dominate and control. And I'm going to tell you, that's not what it's about for me. And for most of the people I know, large percentage, 90%, 95%, that is not what we're about. We just want to live and let live. We don't want you shoving your crap down our throats. And I don't care if it is Islamic nationalism or your Islamic faith or Hindu faith. Don't shove it down our throats. Leave us alone. Obviously, it goes for Christian nationalists too. So it's really, I'm really just sad. I feel sad for our country. But I want to give you a personal side of all of that. Let me just give you a personal side of all this. Every day, there's something that someone says about transgender people or gender identity or stuff like that, every day it's in the news cycles. Something about it. It's constantly there. And people are just saying, well, that is not a big deal or anything like that. Let me ask you this. How would you feel if you, by name, by your beliefs, were constantly called out and shoved under the rug every day, thrown in front of the bus every day for months on end? It never stopped. It never let up. Do you think you would have the strength and resilience to be able to continue fighting, to continue the good fight? How many of you think you're capable of doing that? How many of you think you're capable of going through everything it takes to become the other gender? Everything, the physical part of it, the mental part of it, all of that stuff. Do you think you can do it? Not that you want to. I'm just asking, do you think you have the guts to do it? I dare say most people don't. They just don't understand. They don't get it. And then to have our entire lives constantly under attack, constantly being challenged, rolled, and everything about us just brought out and thrown out into the public. The Air Force, whatever they decided last week, they decided that transgender people in the Air Force were no longer going to be offered, well, those who were 15 to 18 years into the Air Force, been serving honorably, been serving in fantastic fashion all around the world in all kinds of different positions. Some of them had been given offers of retirement, early retirement, with packages and the whole deal and all that. And then last week, they rolled it back. They said, no, we're not going to give you that anymore. We're just going to kick you out. Whereas before they'd offered them that retirement, early retirement. They had offered it to them and then they just pulled it back. The whole point of all of these things is cruelty. Is cruelty. Constant cruelty. Day in and day out. So now you've got people who have been in the Air Force 15 to 18 years. I know quite a few of them. I know a lot of them. A lot of them. Great people, great leaders. And some trans men I wouldn't want to run into if they ever got mad. I wouldn't want to run into them in a dark alley somewhere. Them I'd get my tail beat to death. These people are massive. But point is this: these people have served this country. They went in to serve this country, and this country is turning their backs on them. Every day we're seeing stuff like this. Every day. That's not being hyperbolic. That's telling you exactly what it is. Can you live under that kind of pressure every day? Could you actually make it through all of that? Do you have the strength to pull that off? We do, but only because we know what it takes. Me as a veteran, I know how to do all that. I know how to be resilient, how to survive through these things. But if you're in the public doing all kinds of stuff and fighting for who we are and trying to get people to understand that the attacks against us aren't just about us. They're about anyone who looks like, believes like, loves differently than the people on the Christian nationalist side. And you're going to say, no, it's not about race. Yes, it is. It sure as hell is. No matter what you think, it is about that. The people I've talked to, sure, they'll tell you one thing, and then their next breath they'll say, nope, I'm not though, really. We don't think that ought to be the way it ought to work, you know. This is a danger to our country. It's a threat to the future of this nation and the world, really. And republic kind of democracies around the world. It's a threat to that. And why do I say that? Because this administration, the Trump administration, is doing everything it can to control the world, the entire world. They've got it in their hands and they're squeezing it the way they want it to go. The United Nations, everything they're squeezing it to make sure that it aligns with the U.S. approved policies out of this White House. It's not just United Nations. It's every organization around the world. They're reassessing all of it. And if it's anything in it has gender identity or transgender people, demanding that it be changed, that those words dropped. They are forcefully shoving trans people out of public existence. I'm going to be right. Yeah. They're going to have to do that. So I'm going after them. They have what they want, but they don't have the right to impose ignorance on all of us, this entire nation. Because most of this nation is not ignorant like that. But there's a bunch of people in power right now who are just off their rockers. If they think we're going to sit around and just do nothing. So, yeah, I'm kind of peeved about what's been going on here lately. Then you got Hegseth also going after everything at the Naval Academy. I mean, it is just atrocious. Now, look, here's the thing. This coming Friday, there's going to be a change of command ceremony, as far as I know. This coming Friday, here in the middle of August, they're going to be doing a change of command ceremony at the Naval Academy, where Vice Admiral Davids, she's being moved to the Pentagon, and General, I don't know his last name, but he's class of 91, I think. U.S. Naval Academy class of 91. But anyway, he's going to be the superintendent, and he's a Marine Corps general, and that's actually, I've got no problem with that. I don't know the man personally. I don't know how he intends to run the academy. I don't know any of that. We'll see. If he's just going to parrot Hegseth, then we got a problem, and I'll let him know that. But as of now, I'm just going to sit back and say, okay, congratulations, General. It's well deserved. It's the first time a Marine has been in charge of a superintendent of the Naval Academy, and I'm very glad for that. That's a milestone that we've actually accomplished and overcome now. It had never been done in the past, but I'm glad it's being done now. However, when they removed Vice Admiral Davids after she had been there 18 months into a 3-year tour, moved her to the Pentagon to be an assistant to either SecDef or the Joint Chiefs, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, something like that. I don't know. Basically, they moved her from being in charge of the Naval Academy to being the secretary in the Pentagon. And that's where Hegseth thinks people ought to be. If you're female, that's what he thinks of you. Oh, that truck decided to kind of weave my way. Yeah. So that was interesting. But anyway, so Hegseth and Doug Wilson and the Heritage Foundation under Kevin Roberts and the Vice President of the United States, who happens to be Opus Dei, which is the militant branch of Catholicism, who was recruited into that belief by Peter Thiel. Yeah. Right. So we've got all these people in our government right now. Trump is just. I don't think has one eye